So, we started on a 5th gen console and now we move on to the 6th generation, the PlayStation 2. Which means more characters, better graphics, and longer gameplays, right? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that as we continue on, but keep in mind that a different system isn't the only new thing about this game. So, in the opening video, not only did it show characters from the latest game, which is Tekken 3, they also showed Jun Kazama from Tekken 2 and Kazuya Mishima from Tekken 1. When you start the game, you have the option to choose a character from any of the 3 previous Tekken games, from characters that were available from the start of the games like Paul and King, to characters that had to be unlocked by passing the game like Ganryu and Anna. Now, it wouldn't be a Tekken game unless you had unlockable characters, so same as always, pass arcade mode with a different character and you unlock new ones. And if you want to choose at random, you have these 2 golden question marks right here. You have 40 seconds to choose 2 characters to play as, because you won't be fighting a one-on-one battle. You'll be fighting a 2-on-2 tag match. And to start the match, I decided to pick Paul and Forrest.
Forest Law. Round 1, fight.
So Tekken Tag Tournament plays just like the previous 3 games, just with an obvious added feature, a tag partner. At any time during the battle, you have the option to switch with your second character. 2 great things about this is each character has their own health bar and a strength boost. So once your first fighter is weak, the smart thing to do is switch to your second fighter, which will have a full health bar. As for the strength boost, when the character you're fighting with takes enough damage, the second fighter's health bar will glow white. If you switch during that time, their bar will glow red, and for a few seconds he'll deal more damage. On the subject of health bars, I wasn't really going to bring this up, but it's kind of obvious. Each character has 2 of them, which is, the turquoise Super Saiyan eye colored bar and the red bar. So the turquoise bar is, I guess you could say, the base health, since it determines whether you win or lose, obviously, and the red one is your recovery bar. It still gets reduced when you take damage, but much slower than the base bar. The way it works is that you'll always have more red than turquoise, so when you switch out partners, the resting fighter will recover health while he's tagged out, but only up to where the red bar reaches. So you can't get all your health back. So remember, turquoise bar gone, you lose. I only bring that up again because you don't lose a character, you lose the round. Like, it's not like Marvel vs. Capcom where another character steps in after the first one faints. It only takes losing one, which I feel sometimes puts a little challenge, I guess, into it, but it also helps you to strategize on who to pick or who to start with and when to switch. Like, you may be good at only using one character in an entire game, so maybe saving your favorite as the backup fighter may work for you. If that's the case though, I wouldn't worry too much about it since this is Tekken Tag. And it has almost every character from the previous games, and if you remember, some characters' movesets were recycled into others, the movesets. So when many of the Tekken 2 characters didn't show up in Tekken 3, new characters were introduced with very similar moves, like, Jack 2, Gunjack had his moves, and then Hwoarang had Baekdusans, and Jin had Kazuya's. But some characters' moves were changed just a little bit, so it doesn't feel like you're playing the same character twice. So since Tekken 3 is the latest game, the moves that were changed were for Tekken 2 characters. I mean, this is weird, but it's almost not noticeable, but I mean, the only one, it felt different when I played as Kazuya. Most of them aren't noticeable. Some of them have a few different moves, but Kazuya was the only one that stuck out as not being comfortable. I prefer to play him in Tekken 2 than Tekken Tag, since Tekken 3, he didn't show up. They gave his moveset to Jin, and they improved on his moveset, while Kazuya was given the same moves, and they added new ones, but they took out some of the good ones he had, and he did less hits on some of his combos. So this is, this is one of those things that can be explained well. You'll get a better understanding of it by playing as Kazuya in both the Tekken Tag Tournament game and Tekken 2, and then, you compare. But I'll get more to the gameplay later, I guess, so let's talk more about visuals and graphics now. Now, if you've played or watched my previous Tekken reviews, you see the game not only play better with each installment, but look better as well. From Tekken 1 to Tekken 3, the game's graphics improved greatly, and it stopped looking so blocky and more animations were added to their movements and attacks. But they're still PS1 games, and you can see it. With the upgrade to the PS2, however, this series has made a huge jump with more detail and smoother look. Now granted, it has that early PS2 look where the characters kind of look rubbery and gummy like, And if you were to compare it to Tekken 5, which is the last game for the PS2, it leaves Tekken Tag look lazy and unimpressive, at least in the looks department. But the thing is that by the time Tekken 5 was out, game designers were using better software, and 5 years had passed since the release of the PS2, which I believe is the same year that Tekken Tag came out. Now, Tekken Tag came out 2 years after Tekken 3, and in that time, a few of the things they were able to figure out was how to add thumbs to King, and how to make clothes move through the breeze. Now, one thing is, if you look at Hwoarang from Tekken 3, he wears an untied long sleeve dobak, I believe, that shows off his chest and stomach. Yet it's as stiff as if he wasn't wearing anything at all. In this game, however, characters that wear similar vest-like attire, like Lee Chaolan or Brian Fury or Heihachi and the others have movements in their clothes that wave around with each step, or like when they get knocked down, or when they jump, or when they throw hits. Now, to a few it may not seem like much, but to them I say be happy they didn't keep the arcade style. And I don't mean the arcade mode, I'm talking about the actual Tekken Tag Tournament arcade that you put fucking quarters in. In this arcade gameplay uploaded by Eric Gaming, the console and arcade versions are pretty much the same, but you can see and hear a difference between the two. The graphics look reduced compared to the PS2, and the characters and stages look like they were designed for Tekken 3. Well, according to Wikipedia, the arcade version ran on a 32-bit engine, while the PS2 was a more highly updated engine. So the characters, backgrounds, music, and even some movements in arcades differ between the console and the arcade. Now, while on the topic of comparing systems in my Tekken 3 review at least, I took a few minutes near the end to talk about Tekken Advance for the Game Boy, where I said it was a watered down version of Tekken 3, but I don't know, I guess playing this one, I feel it's more of a watered down version of this game. Like they used the same characters, face pics, same backgrounds, same game modes, and the fact that there is really no story. Well, I mean, this game you can unlock an ending video when you pass the game with a character, but it either has little to no connection with the main story, or it does have a connection, but it's been covered in the previous games. Like one example is Nina's ending, where she gets in an argument with her sister and she lays her hands on Anna, right? That's new. We haven't seen any of that shit before in the other games, right? So there is no story, how can this game entertain me, right? Well, there's another game for the PS2 people praised and loved that had no story, unlockable characters, and played in teams called Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And people seem to have a boner for that game. Hell, I don't even think that one has any fucking endings. The credits just roll after the game is passed and still people praise it. So why do people love it so much, and what the fuck does this have to do with Tekken, right? Understandably, they are two franchises that play differently. But the idea of bringing in fighters that technically aren't really supposed to meet just to team up or fight in a what-if fantasy battle kind of creates its own story. Many games and genres have done this, you know, there's sorry, I say there's many, yet I'm having trouble thinking of. Okay, well, here's a weak example, and I love this series. Not my favorite, but I do love it. And I'll try my best to explain this. The WWE games. Starting with SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for the PS2. They added legends to the roster, but they had no storyline or showcase mode like today's games. But the chance of putting on dream matches like Andre the Giant versus The Big Show, or Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg, or hell, even teams like D-Generation X versus NWO was a fun gaming experience. At least for me it was, because I used to love it. But other games like Smash Brothers, Dead or Alive, Capcom vs. blah blah blah, different battle mechanics, but they had the same idea, to bring in characters that would never cross paths and have them battle it out. Now the difference here is that those games had characters from different franchises, while Tekken was, you know, just Tekken. The other games that comes to mind is Mortal Kombat Trilogy, but Trilogy is just an updated version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, so technically it's not its own game, and it does have a story mode, so, you know, Tekken Tag doesn't. And that's fine and all, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it's all about dream fights. Teaming up Jin and June together, since they don't come out in the same game, Michelle and Julia, or putting up a fight like Devil versus Ogre. That's pretty much what makes this game enjoyable for me, along with the updated graphics and the movesets, of course. But then again, I could be alone in this. My opinions tend to not make sense to many people most of the time. But in any case, the game is still awesome. It still has team battle mode where you can select and battle from 1 to 8 characters, except this one uses the tag mechanic that the previous games didn't have. And it still has time attack, which of course, it's an arcade run that records how fast you passed it. And guess what? Still no pause option. You know what? I should just let it go at this point because I'm pretty sure it's not a big deal to many, but it is to me. But fuck it, whatever. Still has survival mode, of course, that has you fighting endlessly in a single round battle until you lose. Then records how many victories you've achieved. It still has practice mode that helps, well, practice with characters. By testing out combinations and attacks, you put your opponents in any position you want, as well as having them guard, stand still, or fight back. Also shows how moves are supposed to look, as well as timing the button press in a small demonstration. Something new they added is chain training, where the moves show up and if you input them correctly, a new set shows up. You only do a few and they show you how fast it took you to do them all in one. In case you're tired of playing tag team, they also have this classic style one-on-one battle, which plays like the previous game. So it's just an arcade that shows your time at the end. And let's not forget versus battle and one-on-one versus mode, which allows you to duke it out with a second player. I would say that's all of the game modes that can be selected, at least from when you start the game from the beginning. So before you start unlocking, at least that's what I thought until I accidentally came across something called pair play mode. I discovered it when I was nearly unlocking everything. Everything was almost unlocked. And I was just going to walk away, go to the restroom real quick, and I threw the controller into the bed. And when I came back, I saw something on the screen that said pair play mode. Now, I didn't know how I did it, but I selected arcade mode with it while I was glowing. And I didn't know what the purpose of it was, since it felt the same as a regular arcade mode. But still, I wanted to find out how to select it, but no answers. I looked online, and being the idiot that I am, I searched the manual at the last minute, only to find that it explains what it is, but not the way to select it. So another few days later, again, being the idiot I am, I found out you just press left or right on the main menu. And it shows in pink letters. Now, it's mostly meant for like versus battle, but it gives the second player the option to choose his position in battle, from being either your tag partner instead of a CPU, to being your opponent at the starting or tag player. So this feature works on some game modes, arcade, time attack, and survival, but it doesn't work on versus battle, one-on-one, team battle, one-on-one versus, and practice mode, since it's excluded. It's really meant for a second player to join. So I believe that's it for now, but I'm sure there's more to be unlocked as we continue on. Anyway, we're near passing arcade mode, so let's talk about stages and bosses. There are 8 stages in total. The first 6 you go up against random teams. On stage 7 you take on the sub boss and sometimes a rival, and stage 8 you fight the head honcho. So stage 7, most of the times the sub boss will be Heihachi depending on who you pick, and sometimes his partner will be your second fighter's rival. The reason I said sometimes is because there are still a lot of characters that need to be unlocked, and if you haven't, the game will put someone random in his place. Now, believe it or not, some may look random but actually have a small connection. I'll give you an example. When I played as Armor King, they put me up against Ogre on stage 7. So I was like, why would they do that? So thinking back, when I played Tekken 3, the original king from the first 2 Tekken games was killed by Ogre, and an orphan he used to watch over took his place as the new king. And of course Armor King took him under his wing and trained him too. So there is a connection, but you'd think they would put King as his rival or someone more connected, you know. Anyway, once you defeat your opponents from stage 7, you move on to the last round. On stage 8, you face the last boss, Unknown. And no, I'm not talking about an unknown boss, a character that goes by the name of Unknown. And not much is known about her, hence her name Unknown, except that she's a new character, that wolf behind her is a spirit controlling her, and that she can copy the moves of almost every playable character. Almost. There's a few that you can't. So you defeat her, and arcade mode is passed. Now, so far this game has the least stages in an arcade mode, where the previous one went up to stage 9, and on Tekken 2 you went up to stage 10 even. So once arcade mode is passed, the game replays a few seconds of every stage, showing how long it took you to pass it. And as soon as that's done, the credits finally roll. Along the way, it'll show you characters' endings as the credits are still running, and if you chose to skip the credits, it'll show the ending just without the names of all the people that worked hard on this game. Come on. That is up to you, I'm just fucking teasing. Anyway, you only unlock one ending every time you pass arcade mode. and it's the ending of the first character you picked. So even if you defeat Unknown with the second fighter, or if you hold the tag button to start with the second fighter, it'll still unlock the first character you picked. So yeah, it's gonna take a while for you to unlock everyone's ending, so get used to playing for a couple of hours. Correction, a lot of hours. So as soon as you pass arcade mode, you unlock theater mode in the main menu, where you can view characters' endings that were unlocked. A feature that was first introduced in Tekken 3. Except in Tekken Tag's theater mode, you can view the characters' endings in their different attire. And like Tekken 3, every time you pass arcade mode, you unlock a new character. So the first fighter unlocked is Kunimitsu, and then comes Bruce Irving, Jack 2, Lee Chaolon, Wang Jinrei, Roger and Alex as his alternate attire, Kazuya Mishima, Kuma and Panda as his alternate attire, Ogre, True Ogre, and along with him, you unlock Tekken Ball. So, you know, win-win, right? Next comes Prototype Jack, then Tetsujin and Mokujin as his alternate attire, even though Mokujin is the original character, but most of these characters' attire, when you look at the screen, they start or show their alternate on the select screen. Next comes Devil and Angel as his alternate, and finally you unlock Unknown, which is the last boss. Now along with Unknown, you unlock Gallery mode. So this is part's kind of weird, I guess, because I kind of know what I saw. I was there when I played it. If you look online for cheats on GameSpot, Super Cheats, GameFAQs, and all those other sites, it'll say you need to unlock Devil to also unlock Gallery mode, but that wasn't the case for me. I don't know if it was just a typo or there's an alternate way to unlock Gallery, but I unlocked Devil and it wasn't shown in the main menu. Only until I unlocked the last character, Unknown, was it available. So, you know, I don't know how to explain that. I don't know, maybe it's a typo on their part. Continuing on, I play as the rest of the characters, unlocking everyone's ending one at a time. That means also playing as the new characters I just unlocked. And let's not forget that some fighters have an alternate character in place of an alternate attire, like the ones I named a few seconds ago. Sadly, you cannot choose a fighter and his alternate character in a way as his partner, since they share the same character square. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. It's like the game sees it as choosing the same character twice, you know, and that's just a big in the eyes of the Tekken Tag game. Now, back to unlocking endings. For some fighters that have alternate characters, they can be passed for one of the two to unlock both endings, while others had to be passed separately. The reason for this is because fighters like Roger or Mokujin have the same ending as their alternate. The only thing switched is the character. Others like Kuma or Devil have a completely different ending from their alternate, so you have to pass arcade mode with both fighters. A similar situation occurs with Xiaoyu, where you had to pass arcade mode twice. First time is one of her 4 outfits selected by pressing either the square, triangle, circle, or the X button. And the second time is her in her school uniform. She gets a new ending where you press the start button to select it. Why? Because she has 2 different endings as well. So once you've done all that, everyone's ending will be unlocked. So now I'm going to do what I normally do when I pass arcade mode, which is go onto the memory card for some hints. Ah, shit. That's right. We're no longer playing on the PS1, so I guess you can kiss those hints goodbye. Well, at least you get 2 funny animations of Xiaoyu. One of her jumping for joy when you're about to copy a Tekken Tag save data to another memory card, and the second animation of her crying when you're about to delete the save data. Now don't worry, I copied it, remember, so everything's okay. So, getting back to the main menu. We go to theater mode to see that everyone's ending has been unlocked, so now you have the option to view them, as well as listen to music from the game. From the openings and credits to the stages and the results. Now something new that was added was gallery mode. Here you can view screenshots of gameplay you've taken during the battle. You can take screenshots during battle by pressing the start, and in the pause menu you press X to screen capture. Finally, confirm the capture and it saves to your memory card. Make sure that you have enough memory though. You can take no more than 12 screen captures, so you have to delete some to make more. Nowadays we have games that can take screenshots and upload to an online community or save to your system storage, with the option to transfer to your PC or devices, and you also can upload to social media, Facebook, Instagram, and all that crap. But this was 18 years ago, you know, some may think, oh, this is outdated. Well, yeah, fucking we're advancing, you know? But that's what we had back then, and it was okay. Finally, we come to the last mode in the game, Tekken Ball. Tekken Tag Tournament is the second game in the series to have a minigame, the first being Tekken 3 with Tekken Ball. So let's pick our two bowlers and get to it. Oh, by the way, if you pick pair play mode with Tekken Ball, it allows you to have a second player join you, so go at it. So, if you're not familiar with bowling, this is how it goes. What you want to do is get the highest score possible, so you try to knock down all 10 pins in one hit or strike. Like the Tekken battle system, think of these frames as stages and the other two shot opportunities as rounds. Round 1 is for the first character you pick, and the second is for the second character, obviously. If you hit a strike, you jump to the next stage or frame and the first player goes again. If you miss at least one pin, you shoot in the second round as the second player and you try to knock down the remaining pins. If it takes both rounds to knock down the 10 pins, you got a spare. And of course, you also have your splits. You get a split when the first pin in the front is knocked down and at least 2 pins stay standing, but they can't be adjacent from each other. There has to be at least a pin of space, hence it's called a split. You can tell you got one when you look at the scoreboard because the highlighted numbers represent the splits. On the 10th frame, you have the chance to bowl an extra ball, but to do so you have to get a strike or a spare within the first 2 rounds of frame 10. If you miss at least one pin, no third attempt and that's game. As you could see, I did terribly in my first game, and I mean, I gotta fucking try again. A perfect game would be 300 points. That's when you get all strikes. I only scored 72 fucking points. No way am I leaving this on my fucking record. So I'm gonna try again. And you know what, screw it, let's just pick Nina and Anna again. And I got a little better. I got 3 strikes in a row. So consecutive strikes do have a name, depending how much you've gotten. So 2 strikes would be a double and 3 strikes is known as a turkey. And if I get more, I'll let you know. When you're about to throw the ball, you hold the left or right D-pad to have the ball tilt that way for a second until it starts to roll the direction your arrow stopped. And I normally press the D-pad opposite of the arrow's direction in the beginning of each frame, mainly because it curves if you have the right direction selected at correct speed. So this one, my final score ended up being 127 points. Better than last time, but this minigame is so fun and addicting I can't stop. So I continue playing and I find out more. Like most characters have different strengths and different aiming. Most of the big characters like Kuma and Jack have huge powers, so they can throw the ball at nearly 50 miles per hour when you nearly fill the bar. But the accuracy is thrown off a little because it's moving so fast. That's why the arrow is moving like that. Think of it as balancing the characters. Some have great accuracy, but their strength is weak. And you also have the ones that have an equal balance of both. So it's not so strong and not too accurate, but it's somewhere in the middle. Now, as you've been seeing, once you start, you can adjust the position of your character himself. Then you go into a first-person point of view once you aim and shoot. I bring it up because the robots and cyborgs like the Jax, Yoshimitsu, and Brian get into an analyzing PC POV with a red line that aims like a laser. It makes your aim better and helps for when you turn in the directions you want to go. I really think the robots give you a better advantage, but just because your bowler is powerful, that doesn't mean you'll get a strike. Most of the time, the faster the ball, the most likely to get a split. So I say go 20 miles per hour and aim between the front and adjacent pin with the curve, like right here where I'm pointing. Now don't get confused, it's just an opinion, not facts. But hell, if you want to shoot the ball hard, go for it and fill the bar. Well, you know, don't fill it up that much. That's what you call an overcharge. You get those when you fill the strength bar to the top. Your character pretty much just says fuck it and launches itself or herself while still holding the ball. Though funny, an overcharge results in a foul and you earn 0 points for that round. Also, if you gotta get up and step outside for a while, make sure you pause and not just leave the game as is. In similar fashion as an overcharge, if the game continues for 5 minutes without a movement or a single button press on your controller, time will be up and your character lunges himself at the pins for a foul. However, if you were ever to move or press anything before the 5 minutes are up, the time resets and another 5 minutes have to go by. This can even happen when you're in first person POV, and that's Tekken Bowl. Of all the trials, I bowled best with Jun and Yoshimitsu. Jun doesn't have a lot of strength, but I used the tip I gave earlier with the curves and the adjacent front pins and accuracy. With Yoshimitsu, since he is my second player, I use him to knock down the remaining pins I missed. So from frame 2 to 7, I got 6 consecutive strikes, which, earned me a large fucking amount of points. And in the end, I earned 222 points. And sadly, that was the best of all my trials. I didn't bowl a perfect game, but I did unlock Jukebox, which allows you to change the theme that's playing and anything that's available on the start menu during your bowling game. So that's pretty much all there is to Tekken Bowl. Well, I think I've covered the game inside and out. Well, I guess not really, just the basics of the game and game modes. I mean, the game is called Tekken Tag Tournament after all, so earlier I showed you the way to tag in your partner by just pressing L1 or R1. And in a similar method, you can pull a quick tag in by pressing the tag button after you send your opponent flying in the air, like if you were to use Jin's uppercut. Another method of tagging in your partner is after using a throw. There are basic ones that work with almost every character. You get near your opponent and press the triangle and tag button on the same time. You use that button combination for all the characters. Then there are special tag team throws that only work with a specific team. There aren't that many, but it's normally a team you expect to work together, like Jin and Xiaoyu, Michelle and Julia, or of course Nina and Anna since they are sisters. For the most part, each character does the same move whether they start the combo or they waiting to finish it. But there are special characters that do 2 completely different special tag teams, like King and Armor King. Well, actually that's the only team that has 2 different special tag team throws to begin with when they switch positions. So aside from everything being in a team and tagging, they kept the fighting style like Tekken 3. You still got a running tackle and the sliding dash, when you knock down your opponent by sliding into his legs, and that running cross arm that I thought was a flying headbutt at first. You're even able to get back on your feet like The Rock in WrestleMania X8. And since it's supposed to have all the previous Tekken fighters, it would be understandable if they didn't add any new characters, but they still added a new boss. And I guess Tetsujin is a new character as well, an alternate character of Mokujin. Funny thing actually, now that I think about it, is they have one thing in common. They fight using the movesets from other playable characters from the game. Except Unknown starts with every fight as Jun Kazama's moveset, and you can randomly change it when you press the R3 joystick. While Mokujin and Tetsujin have to, they have to tag out, then come back in to change their moveset or every time you start a new round. Also added was an animation before the fight starts. Tekken 3 just had a quick taunt or a pose as the fight was starting, but here they show a quick 2-second scene of the fighters. Some more basic, nothing different than the regular pose, you can tell which ones those are. Then there's the characters that team up with a certain fighter that share a special animation. The same thing goes for the game over screen. You can get the standard game over screens where the fighters normally just fall in defeat. Then there's the special game over screens that usually have the fighters end up getting sad, getting mad, scolded, or even beat each other up. Now they're pretty funny, but in any case, that's Tekken Tag Tournament for the PS2. I mean, it's a great fucking game. The fact that it has no main storyline doesn't make the game any less fun. Maybe to some it may even be more fun because it focuses more on the fighting, but in all honesty it uses the same formula that Tekken 3 had. You go through all the stages, fight a sub-boss, a final boss, and you still unlock an ending. But the thing about Tekken Tag's endings is that they don't really serve a purpose other than to entertain, but some are repetitive and mediocre. I mean, the gameplay was great, the graphics was better since of course they had to move to the new updated console at the time, a PS2. And they had almost every character from the previous game. However, I enjoyed Part 3's Tekken Ball minigame more than Tekken Ball. But that's not to say it was bad, they're both fun. I just like Tekken 3's more. Overall, Tekken Tag Tournament is great. The smooth movements and combos make me feel good with every hit I deal to my opponent. A feeling that Tekken 3 gave me. However, now that I passed and unlocked everything, chances of me playing this game is not very often. Playing arcade mode repeatedly and trying to unlock everyone's ending becomes tiring, there's too many characters. If this was the latest game, the only way I'd play it again is if I was to play it with a friend, or at least till I miss it, you know. I just want a small break from it though. So, here we go. If I was to rank them, sorry, I had to think about it for a second, but the obvious one would be Tekken 3 from best to least at the top. Then, I guess Tekken Tag Tournament. Then would come Tekken 2, and finally Tekken 1. Now I really do love Tekken 2. The story is fucking awesome and dark. Devil has been the best final boss so far in my opinion, and it was a greatly improved sequel in itself from Tekken 1. Tekken Tag had better graphics, nearly all characters, and the minigame. It's close, but I would have to give it to Tekken Tag, since it wins me over by just an inch. Well, that was Tekken Tag Tournament. That was a little tough, but I'm glad I did it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sadly, my plans to upload the whole series before Tekken 7 comes out just went out the window, since it's coming out on June 2nd. You know, I have personal affairs, they keep coming up, and free and quiet time rarely comes my way anymore. I'm always busy. So, it may take a while, hopefully not 3 months again, but I will continue with the series. Most likely I won't be doing a review during Tekken 7's release, but Alex will most likely be doing a playthrough on his YouTube. Oh, in case you don't know him, good. No, I'm just kidding. He's the guy that co-played Kingdom Hearts 2.8, a fragment passage with me. And we're planning on doing future co-op projects. Maybe. Depends how bad his Tekken 7 video is. So check out his not so up-to-date page. Link will be in my description, and as for me, I plan to continue with Tekken 4. I'm still committed to finishing this no matter how long it'll take. I may do a few games in between to have a variety, but my main focus is Tekken. So leave your comments below. Thoughts and criticism are always appreciated. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of new uploads, and also feel free to check out my other videos. So thanks for watching.